In 2006, while working with children in Extreme Zone here at Connections Community Church, a foster child touched my heart. Each week she would want to sit by me or tell me something as only a child could. She grew on me to the point that I shared my passion with my husband, and after some long discussions and prayer, began taking steps to secure a foster care license, not knowing what the future would hold. Life happened, and we did not complete our foster care license. I began to pray. As an elementary principal at the time, children were and still are my passion. Some of the children I worked with came from the most difficult home situations that anyone could imagine. Many came to school without even their basic needs being met. My passion was always to do whatever it took to make their lives better at school, because sometimes school was the only safe place to be. It was at school during a back-to-school open house that I ran into one of my parents. She was a foster mom and had previously had children in my building. That night, she was holding an infant, and she told me that this child had just been placed with her directly from birth. "We're not going to adopt her," she said. "Would you and your husband be interested? I heard that you have your foster care license." I told her we had not completed our foster care license and were really just reconsidering fostering a child because of my current demands. A mother of 2 small children, an elementary principal, and a recently promoted commander of a security forces squadron in the Air National Guard. It would certainly have to be an older child, I told her. She mentioned a friend who was also a foster mom who had a 2-year-old that she assumed would be up for adoption, as the mother had lost parental rights. She gave me her number and asked that I call. I did. And she told me that the courts were trying to let this mom improve her parenting. I took that phone call as a sign from God that we were not meant to foster or adopt. That is the responsible thing to do, I thought. How could I possibly take on another child with the demands already placed upon me? And I kept praying. 1 year later, at a PTO meeting in my building where I was a principal, I was approached by the foster mom who I had spoken to on the phone a year earlier. She asked if I remembered her, and we exchanged pleasantries. Then, out of nowhere, she asked me if I might still be interested in adopting the now 2 3/4-year-old little girl. I explained we did not have our foster care license completed. The task was really daunting, wasn't even sure if too much time had lapsed for us to possibly have to start the whole process all over again. I prayed on the way home. "This would not be the responsible thing to do, God," I pleaded. "I have a husband, 2 children under 5, a full-time job as a principal, and a part-time job in the military, with now a real possibility of deploying in the coming months for 6 months to a year." But God had the passion of helping children in my heart as a principal, and I knew I could not ignore this awesome responsibility of raising a child. The process seemed impossible. Children in foster care are typically placed with relatives first, licensed foster care homes second, and those that have a connection with the child lastly. We were not in any of these categories. Our foster care license was completed, and a petition to the court for consideration of being adoptive parents also happened. And then, more praying. I was certain that God would lead us down a path of responsibility, not to adopt a child. But these thoughts were conflicted by the passion God put in my heart to help children by improving the quality of their lives. On August 27, 2008, the adoption of Mariah Jane Flynn into our family became a reality. While our journey with her is only just beginning, she is a daily reminder of God's presence in the decision to be responsibly irresponsible.
It's really me now. You know, I figured out exactly how it is that I want to die. There's a morbid statement to open a message with, isn't it? Okay, it requires a little bit of explanation. I really want to die like William Bentley died. Way back at the turn of the last century, William Bentley, who grew up on a farm in Jericho, Vermont, developed a fascination with snowflakes. Actually, obsession would probably be a better word. Most people, when a snowstorm sets in, they go inside. For him, when a snowstorm set in, he went outside. He would take a velvet piece of cloth and he would capture snowflakes. He would take them out to the barn, and he would study them under a microscope. He was utterly fascinated with the intricate design of snowflakes. In fact, he said in one of his books the following words. He said, under the microscope, I found that snowflakes were miracles of beauty. And it seemed a shame that this beauty should not be seen and appreciated by others. Every crystal was a masterpiece of design, and no one design was ever repeated. When a snowflake melted, that design was lost forever. Just that much beauty was gone without leaving any record behind. William Bentley studied snowflakes for more than 50 years. He amassed a collection of over 5,300 photographs of snowflakes that were eventually published in his magnus opus, Snow Crystals. And then one day, later in his life, during a blizzard, he did exactly what you would expect. He went outside to look at the snow. And from that, he contracted pneumonia, and he passed away. Now, I want to die like William Bentley. No, not of pneumonia. I want to die doing what I love. I want to die doing what I'm passionate about. I want to die doing that one thing that, for me, matters more than anything else, just because I love it. And I don't believe there's any difference between William Bentley, me, or any one of you. In fact, can I begin this morning by making this observation? God intends for us to follow the passions of our lives. That's what God intends for us. Next slide, Chris. He just intends for us to follow the passions, the righteous passions of our lives. In fact, the righteous passions that grow inside of us really comprise the call of the wild goose. And to follow those God-given passions is to follow his lead. If you were here, you know that we learned last week that the ancient Celtic Christians called the Holy Spirit the wild goose, because as they began to experience the Spirit's working in their lives, they noticed a strange similarity between the Holy Spirit and the wild goose. The wild goose was untamable and untrackable. The wild goose was fiercely territorial and protective. The wild goose would go on long, difficult journeys into dangerous places and live. And they said the Holy Spirit is like that. He prompts us. He gives birth to desires inside of us. He leads us in unpredictable places we never could imagine. And he doesn't lead us into safety. He leads us down difficult roads, into dangerous places, to do hard things that really matter. And while we read verses like Galatians 6:20 or 5:25 that says, keep in step with the Spirit, the ancient Celts would say something like this. They would say, chase the wild goose. Go where he leads. That's a life of adventure. That's a life that matters. And here's the simple deal. The wild goose leads us by giving us passions. Things that inside, for whatever reason, we just care about deeply. They are the things that make us mad. They are the things that make us sad. They are the things that make us glad in life. For some reason, we just deeply care about something. And those passions are how God leads his people where he wants them to go. Notice this verse found in Psalm 37 and verse 4. Hear the scriptures say, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart.